pretty controversial statement from former President Trump about Senator Chuck Schumer.
Basically, Trump said that Schumer, and I'm quoting here, used to be Jewish, but is not Jewish anymore.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He even goes on to say that Schumer has become a Palestinian, and it's all tied to his stance on Israel.
Exactly.
So let's start with that ANI news clip, because that's where we get the context.
Sounds good.
Trump is at a rally. Someone asks him about corporate taxes, and then seemingly out of nowhere, he goes on this tangent about Schumer. Totally. And I was like, wait, how did we even get here? But the thing is, even in those tangents that seem, I don't know, random or whatever, he often reveals a lot about, how he sees the world.
Oh, absolutely. And his worldview definitely comes through in this one.
Yeah. And the language he uses about Schumer is, well, it's strong. He doesn't hold back. He says Schumer is a Palestinian as far as I'm concerned. And you can almost hear the anger in his voice. It's not just about disagreeing on policy.
No, it's much deeper than that.
It feels personal almost.
Yeah. And I think that's where things start to get really complicated, because it seems like what he's trying to do is redefine Schumer's identity based on his political stance. It's almost like he's saying that because Schumer doesn't agree with him on Israel, he's no longer truly Jewish,
Okay, well, hold on.
Yeah.
Help me unpack that a little bit. What does it even mean to, redefine someone's religious identity? Can someone even do that?
But what makes this so troubling is that Trump is basically taking that power to define someone's identity into his own hands. He's setting himself up as the decider of who's in and who's out, which, historically speaking, has never really ended well.
And speaking of scary, this is where that MSNBC clip comes in.
Yeah.
Lawrence O'Donnell's reaction is, well, it's intense, to say the least. He straight up calls Trump's statement vile and anti-Semitic, and then really launches into this whole historical comparison.
And he makes a strong case, What O'Donnell is highlighting is that this idea of defining Jewish identity based on political leanings, it has this really dark history, especially when you think about the Nazi regime.
Right.
They used that same tactic to strip Jews of their rights, their humanity, ultimately their lives. It's a chilling parallel.
Whoa, okay, yeah. So it's not just about Trump disagreeing with Schumer on policy. It's the language he's using.
Yeah.
It evokes these echoes of the past that are pretty disturbing.
Exactly. And O'Donnell doesn't just stop there, He actually goes on to connect this whole thing to other times when Trump has said things that are, well, considered by many to be prejudiced, specifically about a Black accountant. He's trying to point out a pattern here.
So in O'Donnell's view, this isn't just an isolated incident. This is part of a bigger picture, a way of thinking that's pretty troubling, to put it mildly.
Absolutely. And what makes it even more concerning is something else O'Donnell brings up. He points out the lack of, widespread outrage or even media coverage about these comments from Trump. It's did everyone just miss this? Or have we become so desensitized that this kind of rhetoric just doesn't shock us anymore? It's a question worth asking, for sure. It really is a question worth considering. And O'Donnell makes this, I think, really compelling argument that this silence is dangerous. He's saying when we don't hold our leaders accountable for this kind of talk, it becomes normalized. It seeps into the culture. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. And that's why O'Donnell brings up January 6th. Remember when some of the rioters who stormed the Capitol were targeting Schumer specifically with anti-Semitic slurs?
Oh, wow.
It's a chilling reminder of how words can actually lead to violence, especially when those words are coming from someone in a position of power. And this is where O'Donnell gets kind of philosophical, He's arguing that this whole attempt by Trump to redefine Schumer's religious identity, it's part of this bigger attack on individual freedom.
How does that connect to individual freedom?
Well, think about it this way. If someone in power can just decide who you are based on your political beliefs, what does that say about your ability to think for yourself, to form your own opinions, to choose your own identity?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's he's putting people into these neat little boxes, and if you don't fit in, you're less than, or you don't belong.
Exactly. And that's a super slippery slope, because once you start down that path, defining people by their political labels, it just creates this climate of fear and division. Then it's impossible to have any kind of meaningful conversation or debate.
Yeah, you shut down any chance of finding common ground or working together.
Exactly. And O'Donnell's argument is that that's exactly what's happening in our political climate right now. We're so polarized, so quick to demonize anyone who disagrees with us that we've lost the ability to to even talk to each other.
It's like we're all trapped in our own little echo chambers, only listening to people who already agree with us.
Right. And anyone who thinks differently, well, they're the enemy. So O'Donnell leaves us with this really thought-provoking question he asks. If a political leader can redefine someone's religious identity based on their political stance, what does that mean for individual freedom and for society as a whole? It does. This isn't just about Trump and Schumer. This is about, the very fabric of our society and the values we claim to uphold.
So, okay, how do we even begin to answer those questions? Where do we go from here?
Well, I think it starts with education. The more we understand the historical context of this kind of language, the more we can recognize the patterns, and the dangers.
Sound bites and social media posts and stuff.
Exactly. And then it's about having those tough conversations, even when they're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We can't be afraid to challenge our own assumptions, to actually listen to perspectives that are different from our own, And it's about holding each other accountable. If we see someone using this kind of language, whether it's, a friend, a family member, a public figure, whoever, we need to speak up. And I think that's a message that really resonates with what O'Donnell is trying to do with his commentary. He's not just criticizing Trump, he's challenging all of us to be more thoughtful, more engaged, more committed to actually creating a better world.
Thanks for walking me through this one. This has been, a real eye-opener for me.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone, and we'll catch you on the next one.